Today we're talking all about exercise after hysterectomy. I know that there is very little information about this out there, also very little direction from our doctors sometimes. So we're going to discuss all of your questions and hopefully get them answered. I am a physical therapist with over 20 years of experience. I also have had a hysterectomy myself and multiple prolapse repairs. So I'm going to come at it from all of those multiple directions. And this is the first time that I'm taking your direct questions. So I threw a poll out on Instagram. And if you're not following me there, go over there, Jessica Valant Pilates, because I ask questions a lot and answer your questions. But I took a poll and I'm going to go through every single one of them. I'm going to answer them. I have them right here on my phone. But first, what I want to say is you need to follow your doctor's directions. That supersedes anything that I'm going to say because I don't know exactly what kind of surgery you had. I don't know if it was a laparoscopy. I don't know if it was abdominal incisions. You might have had prolapse repairs with it. You might not have. Your age can affect it, many different factors. So I'm going to give you general guidelines. But again, whatever your doctor and surgeon has said is going to supersede that. And you can always take this and my guidelines to them and say, is this okay? All right. So just remember that your experience might be a little bit different. I'm going to give guidelines for a general hysterectomy that possibly was vaginal or even done laparoscopically. So that is what I'm going to talk about today. But I will give some modifications for possible abdominal incisions as well as prolapse repairs that might have come with it, okay? Also know, I am a physical therapist, but I'm not your physical therapist. So again, you have to put all of this in with your specific situation. I do virtual consults. I'll leave the link below, and many women will come to me and will do a virtual consult and talk all about a specific plan or your specific questions. And then finally, before we get into the questions, I want to make sure you know I do have a workout out there right now, exercises after hysterectomy. So if you feel like you are ready to work out, you can go straight there and watch that. Or I recommend going after you watch this video so that you can get some background information and you can get right into that workout. I'll put the link for that here as well. All right. So let's jump into your questions because I get them all the time. And I'm just going to go in order that I received them here, okay? First one, my hysterectomy was 20 years ago. Should I still be cautious about certain moves? No. That is my big overall answer. Absolutely not. Now again, if your doctor gave you some kind of precaution a long time ago, or if you have any new things going on, take all this with a grain of salt, okay? If you have a new prolapse from that surgery. But no, overall, if you had surgery 20 years ago, I absolutely do not want you to hold yourself back thinking that you have precautions from that surgery. The biggest thing and the biggest problem I actually see with women after a hysterectomy is fear of movement. It's a very valid fear, okay? I understand it. Our doctors don't give us very good information or specific guidelines. We don't want to make it worse. We don't want to get a prolapse. We don't want to hurt ourselves. We don't want to go through surgery again. So we become afraid to move because we don't know what we can do. That is the biggest problem that I see, and it breaks my heart with women who come to me 5 years, 10 years, 20 years after surgery, and they stopped moving because they thought they couldn't. Absolutely not. Our bodies heal with movement, okay? We need movement to live. So no, unless, like I said, there's information that I don't know about, 20 years after surgery, you should not be limited, all right? So something to keep in mind. Keep watching. Next question, it's about the pelvic floor. She wants to know how many months to do pelvic floor exercises. That is a great question too. I have some pelvic floor exercise videos here and I give them to many of my physical therapy clients. I recommend all people after having hysterectomy and prolapse repairs see a women's health physical therapist. So obviously I think it's really important. I am 2 years out of my surgery. I still do my pelvic floor exercises. I did them in bed last night, but I don't do them every day and they're not top of mind anymore. But I come back to them when I'm feeling fatigued, when I've had a big workout, when I'm carrying my kids around all day. So to me, when you have had a hysterectomy or you have any trauma to the pelvic floor, those pelvic floor exercises are always going to be there like in a file that you keep that you're going to pull out periodically. The video that I have here is around 10 minutes. And I would recommend doing it every day at first. If you're just in the midst of your physical therapy place, every day is a safe place to do it. But then when you get more like me, 6 months out, a year out, make sure you're doing it once a week. I think once a week is a great way to maintain, to check in, to make sure you're not forgetting how to do those things and keep your pelvic floor safe, okay? All right, next, when exercising, should I be pulling my belly button in the whole time? Not necessarily, no. And I know that Pilates instructors especially will say that a lot. A lot of fitness instructors will say, brace your core, pull your belly button in. I have seen problems with that long term when people don't understand how to do it correctly. So no, again, to me, it's more important that you do the pelvic floor work. So go do my pelvic floor exercises video. You'll understand more about how to keep that area strong. And then no, I don't think you have to think about keeping your belly button in all the time. It really is more about creating space, making sure that you're breathing correctly, making sure you're helping your pelvic floor to work correctly and not putting too much pressure on it, okay? All right, next, so many questions, I understand. For a total abdominal hysterectomy is what I'm guessing, what ab exercises can I do to build up muscle strength safely? This might cover some other questions too, because I do get asked a lot about abdominal work after a hysterectomy. I will tell you my personal experience, and I'll tell you kind of from a physical therapy standpoint, knowing that again, an abdominal incision is going to be different than a vaginal, when you have a vaginal hysterectomy versus like me, I just have little scope holes. I have 12 of them, and that's different too. In general, I tell people to start working their core pretty quickly, but it is in ways you wouldn't expect. I don't have you doing any kind of planks, no crunches, no sit-ups, no side planks, nothing like that. Your body's not ready. Breathing is going to help to start to work the core. We need to work it very progressively to build up, to be strong enough to do the ab work that you want to do. Sometimes that can come somewhat quickly. Sometimes it takes a long time. I do Pilates for a living. This is my job. And after each, I've had 3 major abdominal surgeries. After each one, it's taken a minimum of 6 months for me to be comfortable doing a roll-up. All right, that doesn't mean I wasn't doing ab work. It means I was building myself there very progressively and very purposefully, so I was safe. And it took me that long. It took my body that long, even without even a full incision, it took me that long to be comfortable doing a roll-up. Okay, so give yourself some grace when it comes to ab work. Also, give it some time. With the surgery I had 4 major prolapse repairs and a hysterectomy. I was told I could not lift more than 10 pounds for 10 weeks. So that's a guideline I followed. And that's the guideline that I heard from many surgeons. I had many different opinions. And that's a guideline that I will give my clients if they don't have anything else from their doctor. We will start core work when the client feels ready, when I feel like they can control their body. And we start it with things like toe dips. I start in a very neutral position without any kind of crunch or sit up whatsoever, because that's really hard. And then I start with working the arms and working mobility in the spine. When we've worked that, then we start to get into some ab work. So I know that doesn't give you a cookie cutter answer, and I know you probably want a specific date, but really it depends on gradually building it up. In general, very in general, okay? If you have had prolapse repairs with it, if you have had a major incision, I probably am not having you do crunches or anything like that till at least 8 to 10 weeks. If you had a vaginal hysterectomy, then we're probably closer to 5 or 6 weeks. Very general guideline, right? Okay. Are there any exercises or movements that are off limited, and where to start once cleared by a PT? So again, that's going to be a question specifically for your doctor, but if you have been cleared by a PT, then I just want you to think, have I started to build myself up gradually? So let me tell you what I mean by that. I couldn't lift more than 10 pounds for 10 weeks. And I had 6, I'm trying to remember how old my kids were. They were 6 and 2 when I had my hysterectomy. You try not lifting a 2-year-old for 10 weeks, but a clingy 2-year-old. But I did it. I was really, really specific and I followed the guidelines. I did not want to get injured. But I knew at 10 weeks, I was going to want to lift that boy and snuggle him all over the place. And he was probably 20 or 25 pounds. It made no sense to me to not lift anything for 10 weeks. And then suddenly at the 10-week mark, be like, oh, you're safe to do it. And then just lift him. That would be like going from 0 to 60. So I knew I was going to build myself up with the goal of lifting my son at 10 weeks. So I started very specifically lifting 5. I actually started with bands, and you'll see that in the workout video I have. I started working with bands. Then I worked to 5 pounds. And then in the last few weeks, like around week 8, I made sure I got to 10 pounds. That's how I gradually built up, knowing again that my goal was to lift him right at the 10-week mark and to do it safely. So once you're cleared by a PT, don't feel like, oh, now I can go do whatever I want. Awesome. You could injure yourself, or you could just get burnt out. Same with running. I was suddenly allowed to run, but it didn't feel good to me to try. I didn't try running till a year after because I listened to my body. I did lots of other things. I wasn't afraid, but I was purposely building myself to try running at a year, even though the doctor said, you're fine, you're fine. Each time I tried it, it didn't feel right. So I didn't do it until it felt right, but I was doing lots of other things, all right? So that's the best I can tell you in that. And then also stay tuned, and you'll see a link below, but at the end, I'm gonna tell you about a really specific guide that I have that will actually tell you what to do for the first 10 weeks, week by week, and it'll help kind of guide you and get you to that spot. Oh, and any movements or exercises that are off limits. Again, that's going to be really personal. I told you what my guidelines were. I couldn't lift more than 10 pounds for the first 10 weeks. So anything to avoid are things that the doctor has told you or the PT has told you. But really, to me, when you have had this repair, it's about downward pressure. So you want to avoid suddenly going and lifting really heavy weights, but we're talking 30, 40 pounds. Don't jump to that. And then also any kind of, compression like running. Just don't go right to those activities. Make sure you're walking first. Make sure you're maybe trying a bike first and those kind of things to build yourself up. But no, long term, like forever, there's not necessarily anything you have to avoid. I had one surgeon tell me, and this was because of my prolapse repairs. This was not because of the hysterectomy. So keep that in mind. Don't let this scare you. This was because of the major prolapse repair work I had done. She said her recommendation was not to lift more than 50 pounds forever. My other surgeon said, no, you can lift whatever you want. You'll be safe. So I kind of fall in between those two. To be honest, there aren't a lot of things greater than 50 pounds that I need to be lifting. So I don't worry too much about it. But I kind of think in my head, I'm going to be safe. I'm going to do all the workout and the fun stuff I want. But I am not going to heavy Olympic lifting, which I never really did anyway. But those are the kind of things I keep in mind, is that there are just certain things I probably won't do simply because there are so many other things I love and I don't want to push it doing those things. And that's how I think of it. But no, there's nothing that I absolutely cannot do. All right, so safely resuming exercise afterwards. I think we covered that one. How to prevent prolapse when getting back into exercise. Do's and don'ts. Women who've had a hysterectomy are 15% about on average more likely to have a prolapse later on. So this is something that I cover a lot in my workouts. I do have prolapse safe workouts here. That's a really good thing to start with. Again, it's a combination of two things. I want you to be aware of it, and I don't want you to be too scared because I don't want it to hold you back. But what I think of really in the first year or so when I was building all my strength back up, I was just really cautious about lifestyle management things. I wasn't carrying my kids all day, every day. I was asking for help. I wasn't carrying every single grocery bag in at once. I was doing multiple trips. When I got tired of being on my feet all day, I made sure and laid down on my back to give myself pelvic rest. I saw a women's health physical therapist. I was doing my pelvic floor exercises regularly. So it wasn't really about all the things I was avoiding. It was about my lifestyle and making sure I was listening to my body and being nice to it and slowly adding weights as I worked back up. So as long as you're doing some of my workout videos, you'll see how to stay safe with a prolapse. And as long as you're doing some of those lifestyle things, then you will be okay. Okay, can you do stretching exercises for scoliosis? Yes, there's no reason, again, from a general standpoint, that you can't do those when you feel ready to do those. Surgery in a few weeks. How soon after can you start gentle exercises? So again, I'm going to cover this in the link below. I'm going to have about a 10-week guide for you all. But ask your doctor. Usually walking you can start doing immediately. To be honest, for the first week, I could walk a block before I was too tired. I was exhausted. I was done. Again, that was my pelvic floor more than my hysterectomy. And then I added a little more each time. So I started by walking and breathing exercises. I started gentle stretching. And then you'll see I have a public video post hysterectomy exercise. That's what I started doing between the 2 to 3 week mark. And it's right here, and you can check that one out. You are amazing in helping so many women. Thank you so much. I hope all of this helps. So yes, somebody asks about scar tissue and tightness in the abdominal region. So absolutely, you can get scar tissue, you can get adhesions, and that's why stretching is so important. Don't stretch until you feel ready. Like the full up dog position, right? Or what we call swan in Pilates. That takes a while. It did for me, at least, with my scars. It took a while to work there. So just do it slowly, but don't be afraid to move. As long as you're doing everything slowly and deliberately, you're stitched up pretty well, to be honest, okay? As long as you're not doing it fast and hard, and as long as you're listening to your body and starting slow, you can start some of these stretches pretty darn quickly. And just let your body start to move. You need to move for circulation. You need to move for elimination, okay? It's really easy to get constipated after surgery. You need to be doing some breathing and some walking and some light stretches. Don't be afraid to do some movement. 7 weeks post-op and still so bloated. Does it ever go away? Yes. I say yes with a look on my face because I feel like we're always kind of fighting that a little bit. I am at least having endometriosis. So, but from a surgical standpoint, yes, you're still swollen. You still have anesthesia kind of effects in your body. They pump you with gas when they do these surgeries. And so your body might still be dealing with that. You might have digestive issues still. You might be dehydrated. There's so many things that can happen even 7 weeks post-surgery. So if you feel like it's abnormal for you, check with your doctor, have your hormones checked. You guys know I've talked about this. I think it's such valuable information. See a functional medicine doctor or a specialist and have your hormones checked to see where they are, and that can help too. Can you do squats and deadlifts? So yes. Okay, again, I'm going to give the yes answer. I do. They're some of my favorite things to do. Deadlifts more than squats. But again, really specifically, guided specifically, I'll give you that 10-week, a link to getting that 10-week guide if you're interested. But you have to decide when you're ready for it. Okay, squats do put pressure on the pelvic floor. That being said, they're also one of the best ways to work the pelvic floor, and we need them to be functional in life. So I'm not going to tell you not to squat. I just want you to do it progressively. So I personally, on a very general guideline level, around 4 weeks, I would be okay having somebody squat with no weights. So just air squats, body weight squats to start to get the pelvic floor opening and work the legs and get mobility in the hips. Then maybe around week 6 or even week 8, we're gonna do 5 pounds first. Then we're gonna work to 10-pound squats. Then later on, if you wanna progress from there, you can. But absolutely, squats, deadlifts are great exercises. I just wanna make sure you know how to do them correctly and that you're adding them after you've done some mat work like bridging and some TheraBands, okay? Don't jump straight into squats. Make sure you're working there progressively. So I hope that helps give you some guidance, and I really hope it helps take away some fear when it comes to how to move after a hysterectomy. So I have put together a 10-week guide for you to help you navigate that time on what's safe and what isn't, and then how to add some certain videos in each week to know that you are progressing. So I'll have the link to purchase that below. And again, remember, you aren't alone. Don't let anyone make you feel like you should be doing more or going harder. You are doing great. You are taking care of your body. Add things purposely, add things progressively. Remember how to fall in love with movement and fall in love with your body again, and you are gonna do awesome. All right, I'll see you soon. Thanks so much for stopping by. Remember, subscribe to my channel and you'll be notified every time a new video comes up. Like and comment on this video and let me know what you thought. You can also always come over to jessicavalantpilates.com to find all the resources I have for living a healthy lifestyle, including full-length workout videos, healthy recipes, and a community I would love for you to be a part of. So I'll see you there.